What is the most effective exercise plan for the reversal of metabolic disease? So if you're someone who suffers from type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypertension, pre-hypertension, fatty liver, insulin resistance, polycystic ovarian syndrome, particularly if this is in the context of increased body fat percentage, particularly if this is excessive visceral fat or fat around your belly and a lack of muscle, then what is the ideal exercise program? I'm Dr. Rawat, an Indian origin, England-trained, Canada-based physician who additionally studied nutrition at Harvard and for many years has coached hundreds of clients on the reversal of metabolic disease. This video is an extension of the previous two videos on this YouTube channel. A few weeks ago, I talked about an ideal diet plan to exemplify your diet, to maximize satiety and nutrition within your diet, while at the same time minimizing calories. The video last week was on the concept of calorie cycling with a fasting mimicking diet and also a protein sparing modified fast on resistance training days. So once clients know what kind of diet they need to follow and how they need to structure their week with 4 anabolic days and 3 catabolic days, the natural next question is, well, if I've never exercised before, how should I start? And that's what we'll be going through in this video. It really is designed for people who've never done resistance training before. But the starting point is to make sure that your nutrition is dialed in. The objective here is body recomposition, increasing muscle mass, reducing fat mass. And you need to be sure that your body has the substrate, the building blocks to do this. The ideal protein intake is 1.6 grams per kilogram on those anabolic days. You could also go by about 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight when calculating how much protein you should be consuming. Of course, in my diet video, I discussed that non-mammalian proteins are preferred. So plant-based proteins, marine proteins, lean, white meats, not deep fried, low fat, fermented dairy products. But if you're finding it difficult to hit your protein targets, you can certainly consider a protein powder supplement. For women, I recommend a soy protein isolate, and for men, a mixed plant protein powder. You can check my website, healthgroupcoaching.com, supplements and blogs. For blogs where my preferred products are listed with Amazon links, and I'll put some links in the description of this video as well. The other substrates you need to ensure you have for effective MPS or muscle protein synthesis is creatine, 5 grams a day, vitamin D. For most people, I would recommend a multivitamin which contains 1,000 units of vitamin D, plus some supplemental vitamin D on top of that, depending on your age, and perhaps you could also be guided by any previous vitamin D blood test results. This could range from anywhere from 1,000 units extra with vitamin K, or in some cases even going up to 2,500 units extra on top of the multivitamin. On my blog, I also have a triple strength omega-3 capsule, and you could take 1 or 2 a day. Most people will be okay with 1 a day, but if you have had low HDL or good cholesterol, or suffer from metabolic syndrome or fatty liver, you may well need to take 2 a day of that triple strength omega-3, which contains a total 900 milligrams of EPA plus DHA, 600 milligrams of EPA, and 300 milligrams of DHA. So you could be taking 1 or 2 of those, and this will aid in muscle protein synthesis. So in summary, the 5 basics that you should really be taking if you are serious about building some muscle are protein, creatine, a multivitamin, vitamin D, and omega-3. And I have a blog on my website, healthgroupcoaching.com, which I'll also link in the description of the video. My plan for body recomposition includes 4 anabolic days in a week and 3 catabolic days. On the 4 anabolic days, you prioritize your protein intake. You still maintain a clean diet, also prioritizing fiber, omega-3, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, probiotics. Still doing some degree of early time restricted feeding, front loading your calories, having a heavy breakfast, having a light and early dinner, more protein in the dinner. But you could also do some degree of what's called a protein sparing modified fast on those 4 resistance training anabolic days. Of course, these days could be 4 consecutive days or 4 non-consecutive days, really depends on your schedule. A protein sparing modified fast means that even during a fasting window, you're still allowed consumption of single ingredient high protein foods. So if something contains, according to my rule of 8, more than 8 grams of protein per 100 kilocalories, that's a decent source of protein and you can consume it even during your so-called fasting window. But that's only allowed on those 4 resistance training days, not on your catabolic days. On your catabolic days, once you begin your fasting window, you have to strictly stick with 0 calorie items such as Gatorade Zero, lemon water, green tea, etc. You can broadly divide your muscle groups into 4 parts: upper body push, upper body pull, core muscles and back, and lower body. And most exercise regimes will divide your exercise within these kinds of muscle groups. This is something that you could design both for a home program as well as a gym program. So for example, if you are starting at home, push-ups would be upper body push, pull-ups would be upper body pull, sit-ups or crunches would be core exercises, and squats would be lower body exercises. You could do this in the form of an exercise snack. So before every meal, 3 times a day, you could spend 10 minutes just doing these exercises, 1 set of each of these 4 exercises. And over the day, that would be 3 sets in total. That would give you a decent home exercise program for those 4 anabolic days. If you do it 3 times a day for 4 days, that's 12 sets of a full body exercise in a week. If you went to the gym, did a bench press, for example, or a pec exercise would be upper body push. You could also do a pulling variation on that using cables or pull-ups, doing a plank or any kind of abdominal exercise or back exercise would be a core exercise, and any exercise for your quadriceps or hamstrings would be a lower limb exercise. Now, there is a concept that each muscle group should get at least 48 hours of rest, particularly if you're exercising till failure, which means to an extent that you can't exercise anymore. So if your 4 anabolic days are more or less 48 hours apart, so alternating days like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday evening, then you could do a full body split. You could do exercises for each of those body parts. And generally speaking, if you want to get good results, you want to do at least 9 to 10 sets per week of each exercise. And you could achieve that with a full body set 3 to 4 times a week. If, however, your gym routine is such that you only go on weekdays, for example, maybe you go after work, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you would want to design the split in such a way as to give your body parts 48 hours rest. So you may do upper body push and core exercises on Monday and upper body pull and legs on Tuesday, but you would do double the amount of sets. So instead of doing 3 sets of that exercise per day, you would instead do 6 sets because you're only doing it twice a week. And you want to hit that 9 to 12 set per week goal for that exercise. The maximum amount of weight that you can push is described as a 1 rep max. And most people would be comfortable in a 60 to 80% 1 rep max. But if you're prone to injury or if you're frail and elderly, you may want to go even lower than that. People also wonder about the amount of repetitions they should be doing per set of that exercise, also called reps. The classic hypertrophy rep range is anywhere from 6 reps per set to 12 reps per set. But again, if you are prone to injury or if you're already injured, you could even go up to 18 or 20 reps per set of a lighter load. One really important concept in resistance training is the concept of progressive overload. And this means that in order for your muscles to grow, you can't be pushing the same volume, i.e. the same exercise for the same number of sets and reps and the same weight week on week. You'll maintain your muscles that way, but you won't grow them. In order to grow your muscles, you have to increase volume. Volume can increase either by increasing the amount of reps you're doing or increasing the weight of what you're pushing. So for example, let's say if you start with 10 pounds at 6 reps, and if you have a full body split, so you're doing this 4 days a week, and you're doing, let's say, 2 to 3 sets per time you go in, you could do that for a week or two, and then at some stage, you should then increase from 6 reps to perhaps 8 reps. After a week or so, 10 reps, and then 12 reps. Once you get to 12 reps of that 10-pound weight, and you're feeling fairly comfortable, you could then move from 10 pounds up to perhaps 12.5 pounds, but come down in the rep range back down to 6 reps. And that's how you will ensure that you keep increasing volume gradually, and this will lead to muscle growth. Hence, it is really important that in a notebook or on your phone in the Notes app, you have to keep a diary of what exercises you're doing, how much weight you're pushing, and how many reps you're doing that week. Because that's really the way that you'll ensure progressive overload. If doing home exercises, achieving progressive overload can be more difficult, particularly if you're using your body weight. And this can be achieved by using a weighted vest or doing exercises with weights. You can even fill a knapsack with books and use that as a weight. If doing push-ups, for example, you can start bringing your feet up on an incline to make those push-ups more harder. So although it requires more thought and more planning, even home exercises using body weight can be progressively overloaded. Of course, there will come a time when you're really happy with your body, your physique feels really good, and perhaps at that time you don't need to progressively overload, you just need to maintain. But for the most part, if a person needs to build muscle and lose body fat, that person will need to increase the volume of exercise, if not week on week, at least every 2 weeks. So that was about your 4 anabolic days in a week. The exercises you do on your catabolic days, i.e. your fat loss days, those days where you need to track your calories accurately using a food weighing scale and stay within 1,000 calories on those 3 days of the week. This is what I call calorie cycling with a fasting mimicking diet. Check my previous videos if you're not aware of this concept. On those days, the exercise needs to be more aimed towards fat loss. So I recommend you have breakfast an hour after waking up and do some fasted cardio before you have breakfast. This could be a walk, this could be elliptical, it could be cycling, but the best way of burning fat is what's called zone 2 cardio. And this is doing the cardio at a rate where you can maintain a conversation. You're not working so hard as to be out of puff and not able to speak. Of course, depending upon your fitness and conditioning, this will be different for different people. Also, the kind of exercise snacks that you do on your catabolic days are different. On your anabolic muscle building days, you may be doing pull-ups, push-ups, crunches, and squats before your meal. On your fat burning or catabolic days, however, you need to focus more on burning calories. So you could do your exercise snacks after your meals, and these could be more cardio-based exercise snacks. You could go for a walk, you could spend some time on the elliptical, and this will help increase your overall day step counts and mobilize those fat stores. Check out my blog on my website healthgroupcoaching.com, where the concept of a fasting mimicking diet and calorie cycling is explained in more detail. I will put the links in the description as well. If you would like more guidance, you can always join my coaching program. You can see the details on healthgroupcoaching.com. If you're interested in joining a coaching program, which includes 8 one-hour Zoom classes over 4 weeks, typically on a Tuesday and Thursday evening, Eastern Time, plus the option of chronometer-based macro and calorie tracking designed for weight loss and the reversal of metabolic conditions, then email me on weightlossgroupcoaching@gmail.com. Make sure you share this video with someone who needs to start an exercise program. If you'd like to watch more videos, then click on those links, and I'll see you at the next video.